Last night I had four, these. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, everyone.
Here, you were muted before.
Where did this come from? Somebody put it there?
Walking on.
Did you take it?
Maybe.
Are the
It
candy
was.
canes the treat of tonight?
And Melissa bought macaron.
Oh, nice.
Very fancy.
Ooh, yeah. I'm missing out.
Thanks for
Yeah.
your reply, Michael.
I'm sorry I didn't see it.
But we were done by the time I got it.
Yeah.
But we walked through, we saw the clock,
Okay.
but we didn't know all of that fancy stuff. But I sent it to her. We fashioned Staten Island for review.
Oh, I don't know where it goes.
You may,
You
well,
can make another tour. I used to have tour guides.
had a tour today. 10 people in this freezing cold weather. Impressive.
How many people are in there so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
28.
Yeah. Are you timing that by 7?
What's quantum?
Quorum is, oh yeah, what is it now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18.
Session for.
We have 18, so it's 10.
Okay. 3 or 7. Yeah, man.
Aaron, I'm so sorry. I have no idea what the flavors are. I think that one's matcha. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the.
Gotta eat it, 'cause you touched it.
Then you just all put it in.
You're like, let me just, okay. What do we got?
What's happening with
Gingerbread, I don't know which one.
the guy now?
There's a lot of chocolate.
He's gonna become the comptroller. Did he get one? I think I voted for them.
Let them know you're waiting
Just on-
for.
Tastes like sugar.
Very good, thank you.
Absolutely.
I like best Wisconsin drinker as the
Thank
control.
you so much more.
Yeah, he was. But I voted, I wanted him to be mayor. I thought he was a good mayor. Candidate, but what else did he?
We actually have 17 on the committee, by my count, which means quorum's 9. We have 18, 17.
We have 17. Did I count wrong?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, no, you're right. Sorry, I can't count.
So
My
18.
compliments to the chef on his cookies, by the way.
Tiffany,
Yep.
okay, if I just start the meeting that way.
Yeah. I was just waiting until 5, but yeah, we can start. Good evening, everyone. This is the City Services and Quality of Life Committee of Manhattan Community Board 5. My name is Tiffany Revis, and I serve as the chair. Any items voted on at this meeting will appear at our CB5 full meeting that will occur on Thursday, January the 8th, 2026. We have 2 business items on our agenda tonight. First, we will be sorry about that. First, we'll have Jesse Lang from the Manhattan Borough's President Office in the Housing and Transportation Policy area to discuss Shed the Shed with us and some other components of that. And then we have the Community Advisory Board of NYC Health and Hospitals of Bellevue. And they're coming to discuss with us the priorities of the New York State 2025-2026 budget and hoping to attain a resolution tonight with us in support of them. So I'm just going to read since we're probably going to vote, just let me go through our little blurb here. Though many of you are familiar with the format of our meetings, as the procedures are as follows: a brief introduction from the applicant or presenter will give us a full uninterrupted presentation. Followed by that presentation, we'll move to questions from members of the committee. Once questions from the members of the committee concludes, I'll open the floor to members of the public who will then have the opportunity to ask questions and make comments about the application or issue. Once the public comments and questions conclude, we'll then go into business session. During business session, only members of the committee are allowed to discuss the matter. Following that discussion, we'll make a motion, which will then be taken to a vote by the committee. For a resolution put forth by the committee will be presented to the full board, which will then become the official position of Manhattan Community Board 5, and will forward any of the relevant agencies to elected officials. Again, that meeting is on January the 8th of 2026. Sorry for all that. Can we start by taking attendance so I can know who's with us tonight? So myself, Tiffany Revis. And then you guys.
Iran Nodi Victor.
Iran. I like that.
Michael Greeley.
Melissa Stewart.
Will Rothschild.
Michael Kabak.
That's all that's in the room, right? Okay, online, we have Robert, right?
Yes.
Hi, Robert. Okay,
Can I just point out, Tiffany, if I might?
sure.
The background,
Before we start. Oh, the
At the back.
background.
Robert Pagan. His
Oh,
tape
for-
is on.
Where are you, Robert?
Is every,
That's Gutman Community College, which is across from Bryant Park.
Please tell us,
Oh, that's nice.
please tell us, can
Spoiler.
you tell what that building is in back of them? The American Radiator Building on 40th Street between 6th Avenue and 5th Avenue. So that picture, he'd be sitting in the park. It's cold, and he's not dressed like that.
Okay, all right, guys, let's let's move on. We have people here joining us tonight. We want to thank them for their time, for coming to speak with us tonight. So we'll get started with our first item on the agenda tonight, which is Jessie Lang. Thank you, Jessie, for being with us. She's from the Manhattan Borough's President Office, like I said, in the Housing and Transportation Policy Analyst, discussing something that's been really big on our docket for a long time. So we're so happy to have you and hear what's currently happening, what's going to happen, and how we can help as a community board. So go ahead and take it away.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm just gonna share my screen. Actually, let's see if that works. Okay, are you all seeing the PDF on my screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. And I'm going to make you smaller. I'm going to leave it on this view because I am also going to switch to another window and don't want to make it really hard for myself to jump around. But yeah, thank you all so much for having me to discuss this. I do want to preface this by saying that this is intended to be an informational presentation. I don't have a specific ask of the community board right now, but I know that you all were interested in hearing some updates about what is going on with sidewalk shed reform and like where the current state of play is. But I will be leaving it to you to decide if there is any sort of like resolution or action that the community board wants to put forward. But yes, So I am the Housing and Transportation Policy Analyst on the Borough President's team, and I have been working very closely on sidewalk shed reform since I've been in the office for a little over 2 years. This is an issue that our office started talking about pretty shortly actually after Mark came into office in 2022. It was one of his early priorities that he started to talk about with his Shed the Sheds plan and in legislation that our office partnered with council members to introduce to start to reform. Earlier this year, we got some pretty major city council legislation passed and that you may have all heard about. And so you might be wondering like what happened with those bills and when are we going to start to see some progress? And so that's what I'm really here to talk about. Just some background. I'm sure that I do not need to tell all of you that sidewalk sheds are a blight on our streetscape and livability and quality of life for New York City. But right now, I checked these numbers today. New York City currently has just over 8,300 active sidewalk sheds citywide. The average age, according to Department of Buildings, is 544 days. So, approaching the 2-year mark for sidewalk sheds. This is actually an underestimate because of the way that DOB counts active sidewalk sheds. And I'm sure that you all have noticed that sometimes a sidewalk shed will like come down for a couple of days and then immediately be replaced. And as far as Department of Buildings is concerned, that restarts the clock. But as far as like a normal New Yorker is concerned, that would be a continuous sidewalk shed. And there are over 360 linear miles of sidewalk sheds citywide, which, you don't have to walk far to encounter one. In Manhattan Community District 5, you all currently have 458 active permitted sidewalk sheds. And that is the second highest number of any community district citywide. So you all certainly have quite a burden in your neighborhoods in the district. So to tackle this issue, the borough president and partnered with city council members a few years ago to introduce legislation. As I mentioned, some of those major components were passed earlier this year. So I'm going to just talk about what the bills were that were actually passed, what they do, and where we are in the process of getting them implemented right now. And I'll also share these slides after the presentation. I'll email them to Marissa. If you want to read more about the law, any of these local laws, they're all hyperlinked, so you can just click on them to learn more once you have the presentation. But the first one is Local Law 47. This one requires the Department of Buildings to study and propose new sidewalk shed designs. And in some circumstances, they will also be allowing netting instead of sheds. So that's in circumstances where a facade inspection that failed is outside of the public right of way. So like things like on a NYCHA campus, or other like campus style development where the facade might be overlooking like a yard type of setting, then they'll be able to put netting in and hopefully that'll be less disruptive. And then there's also lots of new shed designs that DOB is starting to advance. So I did want to walk through a few of the designs because they were released on November 18th. Did this switch my screen over?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So I'm not sure if you all saw, this announcement was featured in the New York Times about a month ago when it was first announced. And I have heard a lot of questions about what this is going to mean, but there are several new designs that DOB in partnership with architecture and engineering and consulting companies that they worked with came up with that are hopefully going to make sidewalk sheds when they are needed less intrusive and like more sightly. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through the pictures so that you can see them. And I do recommend that you read the full report, the full press release in your own time so you can kind of learn more about like what the use cases for them are. But this first one is kind of like a angled shed. So instead of having the flat shed that is overhead, it would be angled up to catch any debris falling from the building, and wouldn't cast like such a heavy shadow on the sidewalk. This next one, I think of this one as being the closest to the sheds that we have now. There you can get some additional like this like wall above it is more see-through, so you're getting a little bit more, and I believe it's also taller than the current shed design. But my impression is that this one is pretty similar to the standard green sidewalk sheds that we have right now in terms of the footprint that it actually has. This next one is pretty similar to the first one, where the roof of the shed is angled up so that it doesn't have such a footprint on the sidewalk. But this one also is transparent, which is like really great because during the daytime it will be able to see light through the shed, and it won't be these like dark, cavey sorts of spaces on the sidewalk. This design is actually this one is like one of my favorites. I'm hoping to see it more, but one of the components of the law that was passed allows for like a cantilevered shed off the building, and so this is actually a design that I've seen used a lot. I was actually traveling around Europe in the fall, and I saw this just a similar design used a lot in Europe, and particularly in places that have narrower sidewalks. It is like so much less intrusive than the classic sidewalk shed design that we are used to. Okay, there's two more. This one is another kind of like angled see-through one that is a little bit heavier than the other ones, so that for like the very like wide sidewalks, they're able to space the columns further apart. And then finally, this flex shed is really meant to be able to go up and down really quickly. So it would be for like very fast repairs. It does have, in my opinion, it does have like kind of a heavy footprint in terms of like the amount of material used, but it really is the type of design that allows it to be erected and then removed really quickly, as opposed to right now, the current sidewalk shed designs take quite a while to install and remove. And yeah, so that is all of them. I'm just going to switch back to this. So one thing just to make clear about the new sidewalk shed designs is that there are some next steps to actually for the city to actually start seeing these new designs. DOB needs to engage in rulemaking to make a new permitting process, and also engage with the engineering and architecture firms that design them to make the design available to sidewalk shed companies that are actually then leasing them to building owners and putting them up. The other thing that I do want to mention is that these new sidewalk sheds do not eliminate the current design. And so essentially this gives building owners more, the idea is that it will give building owners more choice over what types of designs they will be able to use. But I do want to acknowledge that we don't know, without knowing much about like the reality of like how these will be applied by the actual sidewalk shed companies. We don't really know too much about like what the costs will be compared to the current sidewalk shed design. So really like these starting to come into the market and us starting to see these on our streets instead of the current design is really incumbent on having competitive pricing, and hopefully we will achieve that because most of the designs use far fewer materials than the current one. So that's where this one is. The next bill is Local Law 48. This one is a pretty big enforcement bill that right now sidewalk shed permits are issued for a duration of 1 year. And if a building owner doesn't do the repairs that are needed to remove the shed within that year, they can just apply for a new permit at the end of that. And there's really no oversight right now over whether they are like making any attempt at all to do the work. So first of all, it reduces the shed permit duration to 3 months. But then if the building owner renews the permit for a second time and they don't demonstrate to Department of Buildings that they are actually doing anything to fix the facade defects, then they will be fined. This one is pending agency rulemaking. It goes into effect early next year, and we expect that the rulemaking process will start early next year as well. But this one is going to be a pretty big one to keep an eye on to make sure that the penalties and enforcement are appropriate to actually change building owners' behavior and start to get the sheds down. Next, local law 49 this is somewhat connected to the new sidewalk shed designs. It is changing, it is requiring DOB to conduct a study to inform new facade inspection timelines. The reason why that is connected to the design bill is because the study that they are going to release is going to include the full design portion of the study as well as what the recommendations are in terms of new facade inspection timelines that would be safe, but hopefully less burdensome on property owners. And so when the new designs were released on November 18th, we did get some initial study findings. The kind of like overall recommendation that we did learn is that the baseline cycle, which is currently 5 years, that most buildings need to get inspected if there are 6 or more floors every 5 years. It's going to extend that to 6 years. But we are also expecting there to be additional details for things like new buildings and buildings that are considered lower risk, that those timelines might be even longer. So the study is due to City Council by December 31st of this year. DOB has indicated that they are planning to release that this month, and then they will use that study to inform a rulemaking process to set all of the details about the new inspection timelines. Local Law 50 is very straightforward. It really just doubles the amount of required lighting under sidewalk sheds. Right now they are quite dark at night underneath the sheds. This one doesn't require any DOB rulemaking. It's just going to take effect. I believe the date is January 12th. And then after that, I believe it should apply to, it applies to both existing sidewalk sheds and new ones. So sidewalk shed companies are going to have to go back and start to install new lighting. The one thing to watch with this one is making sure that it's enforced so that that lighting actually does get installed, and we see the benefit of this one. Finally, Local Law 51. This one, I did want to mention, our office didn't work closely on this one, but it is another enforcement and penalty bill that essentially is just like adds additional strength for property owners that are not completing repairs. This one is also pending DOB rulemaking. But again, this is one that I do not know as much about the full details on. So I did want to mention a couple of pieces of other legislation that are not that weren't really part of this like initial city council push earlier this year. Intro 796 was just passed a couple of weeks ago by city council, and it's not yet signed. I really don't know what the mayor plans to do with it. Hopefully it goes into effect. But if it's enacted, it will require Department of Buildings to send a monthly email to local council members and community boards with basically a list of new sidewalk shed permits in their district, so that you can have a sense of, what is the volume of new sidewalk sheds that are coming to your area. And then this pair of state bills that was passed by the state legislature in June, and just signed into law a couple of weeks ago by the governor, is actually a pretty important component of our Shed the Sheds bill, but is one that required state action. Right now, if a property owner needs to access a neighboring property in order to complete repairs on their own building, and that they have a sidewalk shed up, but in order to complete the repairs needed to get the sidewalk shed down, they would need to access the neighboring property. Right now they essentially have to sue their neighbor in many cases, and take them to court in order to have a judge order the neighboring property owner to give access. But this state legislation creates a licensure process, rather than requiring the very burdensome court process, so that there is like a more straightforward path to be able to get that necessary access. And finally, I just wanted to plug a couple of ways that CB5 or individuals in the community might look to get involved on this issue. So first of all, I would recommend keeping your eyes open, and I can also send Marissa an update once I see the full facade inspection study, so that you can see the details of what is being recommended and proposed. It's probably going to be very long, but I'm sure that there will be like an executive summary if because I'm imagining it's going to be in like the hundreds of pages range, but maybe we will also get some holiday reading as well. And then once DOB releases their proposed rules to implement the local legislation, which we expect to be in early 2026, that is a great time to get engaged. I don't know if any of you or if the CB has ever formally participated in an agency rulemaking process, but there will be the ability to provide public comment about the rules and any changes that you think should be made, as well as a public hearing where members of the public can show up and testify. So that's going to be an upcoming engagement opportunity. And then finally, I have had some success, and we have heard from constituents who have had some success getting sidewalk sheds down or getting unsafe conditions corrected when you report sidewalk sheds to 311. I wouldn't recommend doing this across the board for any sidewalk shed that you just don't like, because what we've found is that DOB can't really do anything if you're like, this sidewalk shed has been up for 10 years. Can you do something about it? And as long as it complies with the current regulations, then there's really nothing that DOB can do. But in cases where a sidewalk shed is unsafe, I actually saw an example on the Upper West Side of a shed that looked to me like it was imminently about to collapse. I reported it to 311, and they came and inspected and actually determined that it was an unpermitted shed, and it was it was removed within a week. And that was a shed that had been up for like a decade. So it is worth it to report those types of issues. I'm sure that you have all heard the rare but really scary news reports of sidewalk shed collapses, and that is certainly something that we do not ever want to see happen on our streets. So that is all I've got for you. I'm just going to stop sharing so I can see you all, but I am happy to take questions too.
Oh my gosh, Jesse, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very thorough and a good informative start for all of us. I was able to just look up a couple things and send it out a few days ago to the committee just to
Great.
kind of have an idea of what was going on if currently if they had a chance to check. But this is very much a very thorough overview, and we'd love to have your slides for this to refer to.
Sure.
I did have a couple questions, so I'm going to start first, and then I'll let my other friends go. Can you repeat what you said about the length of time that the permits are being allowed? Something about 3 months, but then I heard a year. So can you?
Oh yeah. Yes. So right now sidewalk shed permits are good for 1 year. And the legislation that was passed reduces the amount of time to just 3 months. So right now, a building owner only needs to renew their permit and go through the application process with DOB once a year. Once this bill is in effect, that will change to every 3 months. They'll need to go through that permitting process.
And that includes those that have already received the permit prior to this, and then new permits.
Yes, and I think that is actually going to be so the way that the bill is written, it applies to both existing permits and any new ones that are going up. I think that is probably going to be, it's probably going to be a question of rulemaking as to exactly how that'll be implemented, because I could envision a situation where they will say like any current permits that are issued, we will let them run out for an existing sidewalk shed, and then any new permits issued will be for the 3 months. My hope would be that they would be able to say, we are going to look at every permit that exists right now, and any that are, going to be valid for more than 3 months from now, we're going to have a 3-month cutoff process. But I can see why that would be much more burdensome for DOB to do that. So I think that'll be a detail to watch for in the rulemaking.
And which rule was that one fall into?
So that would be under the local law, the local law 48 rulemaking.
Right. And then with that, is there a maximum time that these business owners, building owners get to continue? Is there a cutoff? Like you've had X amount of years, you've done the permits correctly, sure, but is there a max?
Yeah, so it's not that there is a maximum, but there is a penalty process that will start to get implemented. So once you, if you renew your permit for a second time, then DOB is going to come to you and say, hey, like we see that this sidewalk shed has now been up for 6 months. You are on your second renewal of the permit. You need to demonstrate to us that you have a plan to complete these repairs. It is going to be an engagement process, from what DOB has told us, that they'll say like, demonstrate to us that you have a plan, that you have a sense of how long it's going to take to complete these repairs. If a building owner is not able to satisfactorily demonstrate that they will be making progress towards getting the shed down, then they will start to get hit with fines. And so like, it's not so much that there is a maximum amount of time and then the shed something will happen, because the sheds still need to be up to prevent people from falling debris, or the risk of falling debris. It's more that like these are trying to rebalance the incentives that right now, like there is no process, or there's no like incentive for building owners usually to complete these repairs timely. And so if there's a fine, the idea is that it'll start to speed things up.
And then one more question before I let everybody else, but is it the building owners who get to decide one of these 6 designs? Or is there one that uniform is being picked across the city, or?
Yeah, so it'll also be part of rulemaking to determine which of the designs are allowed in which in like exactly what context. So for example, like the very small footprint cantilever design is probably not going to be applicable for every single type of building or like type of street or sidewalk. Similarly, like one of the designs is really intended for like very quick repairs and would go up and down, in a matter of months.
Sure.
And so DOB, as informed by like the study and proposals that they've done, part of their rulemaking process, from what I understand, will be to say like, of these 6 new designs, this one is allowed in X, Y, and Z circumstances. This one you can use here. And then it's going to be a matter, and like there's probably going to be some overlap. So there might be some property owner choice to say like, oh, no, I have like 3 designs that I can choose from for this sidewalk shed that needs to be erected. That's going to be a question of like what sidewalk shed companies are offering which designs, what their prices look like, etc.
Okay, so and that's going to be in the local law 47.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Sorry for taking up so much time. Let me see if my other members have questions. I'm not in the room, so Melissa, if you want to call on people.
Hi, thank you very much, Jesse. I learned a lot. I have a question. I was struck by your, you said that the old sheds, the green sheds, are not being retired, which is alarming to me, because I'm wondering what is the incentive for a building to pay more for these beautiful new sheds when they can just use these awful old ones. I live in a building which has had a shed over it for 2 years, and there's a lovely shed on the building next door. I asked my building, why are we not using this lovely white shed? I feel like I'm in Paris when I walk under it. And they said it's just the cost. And so I don't know how we're gonna actually get owners to start using these new sheds if it's not made affordable to them. And I'm wondering, I saw it mentioned in our notes for this meeting that there's some kind of low interest loan program for building owners to comply with local law 97. Could it be incentivized through that to make to encourage property owners to use the new designs?
Yeah, that's a really good question. For the last part of your question about the low interest loans, my understanding is that those loans are really for the costs related to the repair of the buildings themselves, not the costs of the sidewalk sheds. But on the question of the new designs and like why aren't, like we do have another design, as you noted, like we have these white sidewalk sheds that are a lot more sightly, but they are much more expensive. And the hope is that the new designs will not be more expensive, because in many cases they use a lot less materials than the existing design, and for some of them are much less labor intensive to actually put up. But that is going to be a really important question to ask as we start to see these implemented. I think that it's going to take a little time for sidewalk shed companies to actually start to adopt the new designs and offer options for building owners. But this is an area that I think we should all be really closely following the implementation of next year. And if like we get to next fall and we don't see a single one of these new designs being used anywhere, I think that would be the point at which we need to start saying, like, do we need to go back and revisit this and perhaps propose new legislation or ask DOB to propose new rulemaking that actually incentivizes the use of these new designs.
Great, thank you.
Do you know, or is it in the local law, or is it up to rulemaking about how the fines will be calculated? Is it by linear foot of the facade, or is it by the height of the street wall, or is it just a flat amount for each property?
I don't recall. I don't think that the bill gets into, like, I think that the bill sets maximum fines, but it doesn't determine any parameters around like a fine scheme in that way. My hope would be that DOB will look to have different fines for, like a different burden that a sidewalk shed is imposing, because, like a single sidewalk shed might be 20 linear feet, or it might be like 200 linear feet that wraps around the corner of a building. And I think, we want to make sure that DOB is coming up with a fair and balanced scheme of setting those penalties. And so that'll also definitely be something to look for in rulemaking.
Anybody else?
If nobody else has, I have one. Oh, go ahead. Mike?
I got about 3 things I want to mention. Do you want to go one more thing?
No, go ahead, Mike. I
Okay.
already asked.
Well, a couple of things. Just so I understand, if they currently have a 1-year permit and they reapply, they can apply for 3 months and then another 3 months. Do I have that right?
Correct,
If they don't
yes.
have one now and they're starting from scratch, it's gonna be from 3 months, if the law is passed. Do I have that right? There's no more 1 year, it's gonna be 3 months.
Correct, yes.
Okay. One more thing. Can you say which community board has more sheds than CB5? We're only number 2?
It's CB8, so the Upper East Side.
Upper East Side, a residential area. Okay,
Yes.
my next, at 633 Third Avenue, which is the building that Doc's Restaurant is in. New York Health, there's a New York Sports Club in the building. And it has had a shed around it. It's a huge building, takes up the whole block from 40th to 41st on 3rd, wraps around on 40th and 41st, halfway down the block. It's an immense building. And I was just curious because I find it ironic that in that building is the governor's office. 633 Third Avenue has at least 2-year-old shed around it for at least 2 years, and I haven't seen anybody doing any work on it. Just as an aside, for the mayor's office, who's below the governor's office, but just as an aside, so the mayor should know that, number one. Number two, I am a licensed New York City tourist guide. I take people on walking tours through New York City. And so I get the opportunity to dodge these sheds on a daily basis. And one that just sticks in my craw is on 360 Lexington Avenue. Let me tell you about it. On 360 Lexington Avenue, wrapping around from the Dog Museum on 40th Street, east to Lexington Avenue, and then north around the 360 Lexington Avenue, there is a sidewalk shed that nobody thought about it. Because I could show you pictures, because I've taken them here. I don't know how to get them to you. I just talked to the Maven here. We can't do it. But they've placed these stanchions that hold up this thing. Okay, so if this is the sidewalk and here's the building, and here's the road. They got one here in the middle of the sidewalk and one near the road. So there's no room to walk between the sidewalk and the building because there's stuff coming up, and there's no room to walk between the other one and the gutter. So what you have is like 4 feet of walking all the way from Lexington Avenue down to the end of the building, which ends at the Dog Museum on the hill on 40th Street. When they're designing these rules, it should not be only the shape of the building. It should be how the structure is placed on the sidewalk so people can get through with a little sense. Don't forget that. If they forget that, it can screw up the whole thing.
Yeah,
One
there
more
are,
You wanted to talk? I thought I had, but go ahead.
I was just gonna say for the Lexington Avenue shed, that might actually be one that you might consider filing a 311 complaint to
Like
see
it,
if
how many
anything
times
happened.
I sent this to 311?
Okay.
And the office also sent it in. Still there, I will get tonight.
Okay, there you go, because there are clear path requirements on the sidewalk, but this one might be like just barely within them. But there might also be additional opportunities with the designs to say there needs to be wider clear paths for pedestrian traffic on the sidewalks.
There's one more little.
Okay, Mike,
if I
one
may.
more.
There's one more. If there was 2 more, I wouldn't do it, but I only got 1. The 1 more has to do with drones. Drones. Are we exploring more that it might save the sidewalk from a shed to inspect the building with drones? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so actually, yeah, and I didn't mention that, but that is a possibility that we're going to be looking for in the study that DOB is going to be releasing this month. That they what we have been told by DOB is that they are going to be exploring other additional methods for inspecting facades beyond just like the human inspection that is done now, that's very like quite labor intensive, and that their drones are one of the areas of exploration that the city is going to be looking to expand to for both reducing the amount of labor and burden of the facade inspection regulations, as well as an additional way of saying like when a building qualifies for these lighter touch forms of inspections, because we know that it has like reasons to be lower risk, that will hopefully prevent sidewalk sheds from being needed by going through those inspection methods.
Okay, great.
But
Thanks.
it's a possibility. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you, Tiffany.
Of course, Mike. Did you have another question before I go to the public?
Yeah, Jesse, you mentioned, I don't remember if it was actually passed or if it's a bill, but something about licenses for neighboring buildings, because in my own building, one of the reasons why we've had to shut up for 2 years is our neighbor refused to give us access, and it took us about 6 months to work out an agreement with them, and of course we have to pay them an enormous amount of money. So is this new legislation going to, I hope there's something which would, this is for public safety, that
Yeah.
there's an adjacent building that they should be forced to allow access for the facade repair.
Yes, so yeah, your experience is exactly what this new law is designed to alleviate. And I'm glad that you were able to get through it in 6 months, even though it sounds like it was a horrible process. I have heard horror stories of people being held up for years and not being able to get that access. But yes, that is a state law. The governor just signed it a couple of weeks ago. I think that I was reading over the law today, and it's not clear to me exactly who is going to be implementing and issuing these licenses. But the way that the law was written, is essentially for there to be an out of court licensure process that is much more straightforward than having to like negotiate and sometimes go through court in order to get that access.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think that is going to be one that you know, if we're not seeing movement on it in the first couple of months of next year, that would be one I think that would make sense to contact state legislators about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? I'm gonna go to our public now. Okay, Kristen, Gary from the public, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just have a quick question I've been trying to find information on the sidewalk shed that's been up on the corner of 55th and 7th Avenue for over a decade. And I've just been online and noticed that they have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of fines. I don't know if they've paid or not. But how do I do not see how to find when the shed was actually put up, when the first permit was granted, and if they are properly filing for the extensions.
Yeah, so where are you looking for the permits in DOB now or building information system? Those are the two
Yeah,
systems
so I just went to DOB now. I registered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm in like the safety section of DOP, and that's where I don't see any.
Yeah.
Then I get lost. And like, I mean, I don't need to take everyone's time, but or if it's possible to, you know, put a walkthrough of how to find it, that would be like incredibly helpful. I don't, you know, so keep track of it.
So to like very quickly answer your question, and maybe we can like find a way to connect further about this because there is kind of a much longer answer to your question as well. But to very quickly answer, if you go into the work permit section on that page, then that's where you'll actually find the sidewalk shed permits and you can kind of like go back in time. The issue with DOB now though is that it's a new system, so really there's only permits from the last like couple of years in DOB now.
Yeah,
There's a separate there's a separate system, BIS or Building Information System that has they would have like the older permits going back like potentially years. What I would say also is like something that I often do is go into like Google Street View and look at historic images. They go back like 10 to 12 years and you can kind of get a sense there of
I mean, I live next to it.
Okay, so you're like you know how long
I'm very well aware of what's been going on. But even in BIS, it's like, where am I going? Am I going building information search, skilled trade licenses, electronic filing, building on the block? It would just be very helpful if there was a clear pathway to understand where I can find the information.
I'd recommend that you go to
I just sorry, would recommend also going to the community board office and reach out, and they can help too.
Yeah.
Yes. Great suggestion. Yeah, and I would say if this is something that CB5 is interested in exploring, like an information session about this, DOB did do like a sort of information session with our office, and I think that like CB leadership was invited to that. This was like over a year ago, but they basically did a tutorial of how to use these different systems, and I think that they would probably be happy to offer such a training or like walkthrough of these systems with the community board, where they can talk through like, you know, how to find the specific information about sidewalk sheds that you're looking for.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. Thank you. I feel like it's a labyrinth.
Yes.
Thanks, Kristen. If you can email, like Melissa said, you can email our office, the area, so we can also look into it, and then we'll further look into a way to possibly, you know, help have a a step-by-step process or something so it's easier to follow these things. And thank you, that was a great question.
Thank you.
Okay, Charles Nye, go ahead. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. I was wondering why the law doesn't ban the old style of sheds, or, you know, have a requirement that they have to choose one of the 6, instead of having this incentive thing and waiting and hoping next year that sometime by fall time they're going to start, you know, using some of these new designs, because it just feels like, you know, there's a possibility we could be just having the same situation, and it, you know, and it's just I don't know. I just don't know why the law has to wait to see what happens instead of just banning the old style of sheds out. And I was wondering, I'm a constituent of CB5. I was wondering, as a blind constituent, if you could please describe the 6 styles of sheds, as unfortunately I don't have the visuals to see. So for example, with the angles, I don't know if some of them are like in a pyramid out of the building or in a V shape out of the building. And with my final question is, with the lighting under the sheds that I think you said it's going to be implemented after January 12th. I was wondering, what do they need to comply with? You know, what kind of lighting do they have to have, if you know offhand? But the other important question is, if they're not complying, do we just make a complaint to 311 or the community board, or how does that work? Thank you very much.
Sure. Yes. So for your first question about why we are not requiring the phase out of existing shed designs, that is something that I don't have the full details on, but was part of the negotiation process of these bills with the Department of Buildings and other stakeholders, that was necessary to get everyone engaged and supportive, so that they could actually get passed. And I believe that one of the issues that was flagged was that phasing them out would be burdensome and potentially not successful, and that given that the new shed designs are somewhat untested in the real world. Again, this is an area where I would say, like, you know, if a year from now we aren't seeing these new designs pop up and start to replace the existing sidewalk sheds, that would trigger, I think, a need to say, like, we need to go back and revisit this. But that was a concession that I think was needed in order to actually get the bill passed, that particular bill passed. For the second question about the visuals of the like the description of the sidewalk sheds, so the ones that have the angled parapets, it's like, if you imagine the vertical facade of the building, rather than coming out at a 90-degree angle, the sidewalk shed roof is coming out at a 45-degree angle pointed up. And so it's, you know, it's not just like a direct roof over the sidewalk. And for the full description, the press release from the, and actually maybe I can put this, I'm gonna put this link. I don't know if
I can try to put it too. The one
okay.
for the mayor's
I think
office.
this is, yeah, I think this is going to hosts and panelists, but I don't know if you can put it in like the general chat for everybody. But that one, the press release does have some visual descriptions that I think will probably do a better job than I can just like on the fly right now.
Members of the public can't access the chat, just to let you know.
Yeah, I don't know if Tiffany, I don't know if you are able to put it in like
yeah, if Charles, if you can just request by email, and then we can send you that link. And then if you want to answer the lighting question.
Yes, for the lighting question, yeah, that one will be one that, if we aren't seeing the brighter lights, be used, then, yes, the appropriate action would be to, file a 311 report, and then DOB can go and inspect and comply building owners to follow the new guidelines.
Okay. And then it was about the complaint, like you said, 311, community board, things like that. Any other way that is suggested to notify of unsafe or not complying?
Yeah, so I would say 311 is always going to be the first step, and like you should do that with every case where you see an unsafe or like sidewalk shed that's not following the guidelines. Something that you can do on top of that is you can always reach out to our office, or your council member's office and say, I filed a 311 complaint. Can you help me engage with DOB and make sure that they follow up on this promptly? And we can also help internally move that along as well.
Excellent.
Can we
Thank
get
you.
in touch with your office?
The email, the constituent services email is info@manhattanbp.nyc.gov.
We just throw that in the chat. So
Community board, just like regular people? We're not like a little bit alleviated?
Well, I know that, sorry, let me just finish.
Marissa must have it, okay.
Yeah. See it. But yeah, I mean, Marissa has my contact information, so you're always welcome to reach out to me directly. It is our constituent services team that does the escalation to DOB when needed, and this info@ email address does go directly to the constituent services team. And I'll also note, I am sure that you all know that that Mark is transitioning out of his role as BP in just a couple of weeks. The info@ email address is one that will stick around and is one that you can always use to reach out to our office in the new year. But we're going to have a lot of new team members joining next year, and things will be shuffling around. So I would say, like, you know, for next month or like the next couple of months, as we figure out who those people are going to be in the various roles in the office, I think that using the info@ email address will ensure that your questions or concerns are going to an email inbox that's actually being monitored.
okay. That's wonderful. Jesse, if no one else has any questions, just thank you for this. I mean, this is again something that it really affects our community, our district specifically, as being the second, not the first, but second. And we'd love to support, you know, public safety and, you know, the rules and regulations as much as we can. So we just ask that anything that comes up that you feel that we can, you know, help our community have a voice and whatnot, we'd love to be a part of that. Now, you said that there was a public session coming up. Do you have that information so I can circulate that, or?
So we don't have the timeline for that, but that is something that will be coming once DOB starts to engage with the rulemaking process.
Okay.
So I do expect that I'll be, I know that I'll be staying on in the office in the new year and for the time being. And so
you can forward that to the office.
I'll definitely forward that to the office because that's something that I'm going to be keeping an eye out for.
Okay, excellent.
Tiffany?
Yes, Michael.
Can we just get that info@mbponyc.gov?
Yeah, I'll email it to everybody. I'll email it to our committee. I have it saved.
Can I have it?
info@Manhattan.
Write out the word Manhattan.
Write out the whole word, bp.nyc.gov.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you. And we hope this isn't the last time we talk and communicate, and look forward to more times together. Thank you for taking the time. We really do appreciate and respect the fact that you did this for us. Thank
Sure,
you.
my pleasure. And yeah, feel free to reach out if you have any follow-up questions.
Okay. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thanks. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thanks, you
Bye.
too. Okay, so second on our agenda, we are joined by the chair and vice chair of the Community Advisory Board of NYC Health and Hospitals Bellevue. They would like to share their priorities for the new New York State 2025-2026 budget. And so they want to present some of this information, their top priorities, and I believe ask for us to come up with a support for them. So thank you for joining us. We'd love to hear, and thank you, Renee. It's good to see your face. Oh, it's so great. So yeah, thank you. And I'll just open the floor up. I don't know who's gonna speak, and if you need me to put anything up on to share, or if you guys have the ability to do that, go ahead.
Thank you so much. No, we don't have a deck with us. It's been back and forth. So I'm just going to talk it and it'll be real quick, and then you can ask questions. There's basically 3 asks that we have. We're here from Bellevue CAB. We want your strong support from New York City Health and Hospitals for their budget priorities for the state fiscal year 2025 to 2026. And what we'd love for you to do is pass a resolution that will request legislators to do 3 things. One is make permanent the fee for service upper payment limit. It's called the UPL. I'll talk about it a little bit later. It's a statute that's set to expire on March 31st, 2026. And what it is, it's an enhanced Medicaid rate add-on. And that reflects the difference between what would be paid if somebody came in with Medicare, which is a more generous program, versus Medicaid, which is a less generous program. And it helps to cover the cost and utilization of services at health and hospitals. And it's really, really critical to their financial stability. You just think about it as a gap funding. The second ask is to make permanent the telehealth payment parity statute. That's also expiring on March 31st, 2026. What does that mean? Telehealth can be paid at a lower rate if this statute expires, and people are utilizing telehealth at a greater rate. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then the final thing is we're asking you to continue to advocate for safety net provider parity and equitable distribution of Medicaid funds. And it helps essential providers like health and hospitals to cover the actual cost of delivering care, because there's a huge gap between what it costs and what they are receiving. It's really vital that health and hospitals get these funds so that they can continue to provide high quality, accessible care to every single New Yorker. And this is big, regardless of their ability to pay. I'll give you a little bit of background about health and hospitals. Bellevue is a part of it.
Renee, can I interrupt you?
Sure.
You didn't. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Tiffany, it's
yeah.
Karen.
Hi, Karen. So sorry. I wasn't
Hi,
sure who was
Tiffany.
talking right then. Sorry about that.
I'm on the chair, and the only
Yes.
reason I would disrupt Renee's flow is these key priorities have been updated.
Oh, you are right. I apologize. I
No
will.
problem, of course.
I just cut and pasted them as we were talking. I do apologize. Let me stop sharing, and we'll get back to that. Sorry about
Okay,
that.
great.
Thank you for telling me.
I'm sorry, Renee.
No,
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Tiffany. I thought I sent it to you, the updated ask. Sorry.
That's okay. It just wasn't. It wasn't in the 1, 2, 3. You sent me the updated like suggested resolution. So that's I just have to do that. So go ahead, keep talking. I just wanted everybody to be able to see a visual of as you were speaking about them.
Okay, great. So a little bit about health and hospitals. Health and Hospitals Corporation, Bellevue is a part of it. It's the largest municipal healthcare system in the United States. It includes 11 major hospitals. You think of Bellevue, Jacoby, Lincoln, Coney Island. It has community clinics, nursing homes, home care services. It serves more than 1 million patients a year, again, regardless of their ability to pay. It has more than 43,000 employees. It's the 11th largest employer in New York City. And its proposed budget for 2026 is $13.5 billion with a B. Just to give you a sense, overall 65% of the adult patients in health and hospitals are uninsured or reliant on Medicaid. There's 45% on Medicaid, 20% are uninsured. So health and hospitals is considered a safety net hospital. You can compare this to like a private nonprofit hospital. They have about 25 to 28% of their patients relying on Medicaid. That gives you the difference. Health and Hospitals offers 2 patient programs. First is Metro Health Plus, which is a health insurance that offers affordable plans like Medicaid Medicare Advantage, essential plans, and options for New York City employees. 690,000 people are enrolled in the Metro Plus Health. And part of that is the essential plan, which is a no-cost basic health option providing coverage for 972,208 non-Medicaid low-income individuals. And that was authorized by the Affordable Care Act. The second program is New York Care, which is a low or no-cost healthcare for low-income individuals. That includes undocumented immigrants younger than 65 years of age who they don't qualify for Medicaid or other programs. So there are 145,000 people enrolled in that program. Then just to sort of frame it, Health and Hospitals funding shortfall comes from two main sources: 15% shortfall from the federal funding and state supplemental Medicaid payments, and 28% from New York City. A little bit of background about Bellevue. If you don't know, it's located on 28th Street and First Avenue. It's the only tertiary care hospital for complex care in the health and hospital system. What is tertiary care? It's one that provides really specialized care for complex medical conditions. So say if you're at Coney Island and something really, I don't know, Tiffany, you might know of some surgical thing that happens and it can't be treated there. Bellevue is where you're going to go for that very specialized treatment. Bellevue has 844 patient beds. This year, it had 520,000 outpatient encounters. That includes the telehealth portion, and 110,000 ER visits. The ER outpatient load has increased. You guys know all about the closure of Mount Sinai Beth Israel. I can't give you figures. I'd love to say how much has Bellevue increased. We can say it's become a lot busier since the closure of Mount Sinai Beth Israel, but we don't have the patient data. We can't access that data, as you can imagine, to say they were Beth Israel patients, now they're Bellevue patients. Bellevue's nationally recognized in trauma, oncology, stroke, heart failure, child psych evaluations, perinatal care, hypertension, and diabetes management. And again, I just want to emphasize this because it's so important. Bellevue takes all comers, regardless of their ability to pay, regardless of their immigration or their insurance status. 60% of Bellevue's patients are on Medicaid, which reimburses only about 70% of the actual cost of care. And it leads, not surprisingly, to a lot of financial stress. I'll give you a little bit quickly on the background on Medicaid. Medicaid is the largest source of healthcare coverage in the United States. It's government-funded health insurance for people with low income or disabilities. It's a joint program. It's a joint program between federal and states, and it covers doctor's visits, hospital care, prescriptions, mental health, maternity, long-term care. In 2024, the federal physical cost was $900.3 billion with a B, with about $620 billion provided by the federal government and $280 billion provided by the states. The way it works is that states administer their own programs within the broad parameters, the rules set by the federal government. So in New York State, the federal government pays about 50% of Medicaid reimbursement, and New York State tends to be a little bit more generous compared to a lot of states. The traditional Medicaid population covers, again, low-income children, pregnant women, parents of dependent children, people older than 65 years of age, people with disabilities. In New York State, there's something called the medical expansion population, and that's for childless adults that are aged 19 to 64 without a disability. The income limits for most enrollees is 138% of federal poverty levels, which is about $22,000 for an individual and about $44,000 for a family of four in New York. You get a little bit of a higher cutout for kids and pregnant people. In New York City, 4,036,284 individuals are enrolled in Medicaid. How it actually works in New York City is that most people are enrolled in Medicaid, managed care plans run by the private insurers. The state then pays the money to the insurer, and the insurer pays the hospital or the doctor. But the rates that they pay are so much lower than private insurance. There are some additional funds that flow to New York City hospitals in the form of supplemental Medicaid payments to offset payment costs for indigent care. And that makes up some of the shortfall for Medicaid rates relative to Medicare. But even with those additional funds, hospitals that serve a disproportionate share of Medicaid patients really, really struggle. And now we'll get to the big, beautiful bill. Let's call it HR1 instead. HR1 doesn't end Medicaid, okay? What it does is it restructures it in a way that reduces enrollment, federal payments, and flexibility over time. What's happening is that Congress is teeing up roughly $1 trillion in federal healthcare spending cuts over 10 years, with Medicaid taking the biggest hit. So there's an important distinction. Two things are happening on parallel tracks. It's easy to mix them up. First, we've heard a lot about the Affordable Care Act subsidies. The ACA marketplace subsidies expired in November 2025, raising the price of health insurance. As of today, Congress, you probably know, has not renewed those subsidies. This affects people buying insurance on the exchange. It does not directly change Medicaid eligibility, right? Medicaid cuts are structural, and they're going to be phased in from 2025 to 2028. The cuts reduce who are qualified, how long the coverage lasts, and how much the provider gets paid. In New York City, or in New York State, which is comparatively generous and therefore more exposed, Medicaid covers adults up to 138% of the federal poverty level, qualified immigrants, and PRUCOL populations. That means, if you're permanently residing under the court of law, you can think asylum seekers there. Undocumented children, pregnant women, up to 223% of the poverty level, and adults over 65. None of this is automatically repealed. Instead, what's happening is the federal government makes it harder and more expensive for states to maintain what they're providing now by changing the rules in ways that make staying covered harder. So what does it mean? What does it mean in Medicaid changes for people? The federal government is going to pay less. So starting in 2025 and increasing in 2026, Washington sends less money to New York for Medicaid. And then number two, people are going to have to prove that they're working, studying, or volunteering. So starting in 2027, many adults on Medicaid are going to have to show 80 hours a month of work, school, or volunteer activity. And if they don't do it, they don't do the paperwork, they're going to lose the coverage. Even if they qualify, if they make a mistake in the paperwork and they don't get it in on time, that's it. There's also going to be less backdated coverage. They're going to reduce the retroactive coverage. Right now, if you get sick, you don't have coverage, and you sign up for Medicaid, it can be retroactively and cover those medical bills from the last 60 days. But that's going to drop to 30 days in 2027. What also happens is renewals for Medicaid are going to be for 6 months instead of 1 year. So there's going to be recertification requirements. So instead of renewing Medicaid once a year, people are going to have to do it every 6 months starting in 2027. Hospitals are going to get paid less because of the reduction of the Medicaid supplemental reimbursement rate. So starting in 2028, special Medicaid payments that keep safety net hospitals open are going to get cut. And there's going to be a new cost for very low income people. It's called required cost sharing. And so in 2028, some Medicaid patients will have to pay out-of-pocket costs. They used to not have to do that, like some co-pays, right? All right, what's the impact of all of this? People who are eligible are going to likely fall off coverage, not due to the rule change specifically, but just due to paperwork, language barriers, housing instability, or just churn. Every 6 months, you got to get that payment in. And if you do it wrong, the paperwork in it. If you do it wrong or you're late, it becomes problematic and you can lose coverage. Even small fees can cause people to delay care, right? If they don't have insurance. And when they finally show up, they are sicker and treatment will cost more. So people not having insurance is really, really a problem over time. People are going to end up relying more on hospitals like Bellevue, where there's likely to be a significant increase in unreimbursed care. It's estimated that 950,000 people in New York City are going to be affected by these changes, the HR1, and that there will be a statewide loss of 78,000 healthcare jobs and 136,000 jobs in related economic activity. So what can you do with all this information? I sound like a doomsayer. First, just pass a resolution, request that the fee for service, the FFS, under the upper payment limit statute, which is due to expire, be made permanent. Again, Medicaid doesn't cover the cost of care, and it's problematic for safety hospitals like Bellevue. that serve a lot of low income and uninsured patients. So currently, the law provides an enhanced fee for service Medicaid rate add-on, more money to fill that gap, to cover the actual costs and the utilization of services. So cost means how much money is spent on care. Utilization means how often people use that care, like that. How many times are they going for hospital visits or procedures? The statute lets the states pay the hospitals up to what they would get under Medicare by using this law. It was enacted in 2020 and the state renewed it, but it's going to expire on March 31st of 2026. Our request is not just to kick it down the road and extend it again, but we're asking that it be made permanent. That will allow New York State to legally supplement Medicaid payments at Medicare rates to Bellevue and ensure that they can continue to treat the patients who rely on them. Again, approximately 60% of Bellevue's patients are on Medicaid, currently only getting about 70% of their actual cost of care. Without this law being extended or made permanent and the uncertainty of HR 1, Bellevue is really likely to suffer financially. Second thing we're going to ask you to do is ask the legislators to make the telehealth payment parity statute permanent. This statute also expires March 31st, 2026. So this was a New York public health law, and the telehealth parity law required that private insurance and Medicaid pay for telehealth services at the same rate as comparable in-person services. And that prevents lower reimbursement just because the care is delivered remotely. It ensures that the virtual visits aren't undervalued, and it supports broader access to care for vulnerable individuals. You can think of all the reasons why somebody might use telehealth instead of an in-person visit. In 2025, 105,773 of Bellevue's patients used telehealth. They used it because of their work schedules, transportation barriers, childcare, disabilities. If those visits get paid at a lower rate, Bellevue's losing that revenue, even if the demand for telehealth stays high, right? Again, statute's set to expire in March of 2026. We want to advocate that it be made permanent, not just kicked down the road, but permanent. So Bellevue can, again, continue to provide these services to the patients that need them. And then the third thing that we're asking is we want to make sure there's a safety net provider parity and equitable distribution of Medicaid funds, so essential providers like health and hospitals can more closely cover the cost of delivering their care. It means striving to increase the Medicaid reimbursement rate in safety net hospitals, because increasing reimbursement rates for safety net hospitals like Bellevue, like all of the health and hospital, it's the best way to reduce the healthcare disparities among hospitals and promote health equity. That's it. I know it was a lot. I know I spoke very fast. I can send all this to you if you would like to have it, and we're happy to take questions.
That was fabulous.
No,
it is a lot of information. That's why I, try to see if we could get something up. So everybody could have a little bit of a, like I said, a visual as you're speaking on the numbers they're very important to this. I would like, and thank you. That was great, Renee. Thank you. I want to open it up to the committee members before I start asking some questions. I did send out a little bit of what you all were presenting tonight and discussing with us, and hopefully the members got a little bit of a chance to look over some things before. And I also sent out a letter from January 2025 in the support of the request back then. I know this is now including more specifically to the HR 1 that's now passed, and a little bit more about the going forward, as you said, to make the March, what is it, March? Sorry, let me go back. Yeah, the March 31st deadline. So I believe those are kind of the additives to what we had in a letter of support that went out of January of this year. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up so anybody can see it. And Melissa, you want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, thank you so much. This is super important. A quick clarifying question. Can you talk a little bit more about the difference in cases between the first bullet and the third bullet? So under what circumstances the Medicaid reimbursement rate is hitting that like upper payment limit versus increasing, like what's the difference basically with increasing the
So-
requesting increase the Medicaid reimbursement rate versus the upper payment limit, and like under is it just under fee-for-service circumstances? Are these like different pools of funding? And then kind of second part to this is if you could talk through, and maybe this is based on some of the initial bullets that came in or priorities, just some of the additional impacts specific to, I think, Bellevue in particular, just given obviously the relation to CB5. What are some of the planned changes based on like anticipated reduced funding or anything that's had to been implemented the last year or so or anticipated the next few years, like direct impacts of some of these cuts?
Okay, so one of the things I will say about the impact of the cuts and HR1 is that there's the anticipation and what we don't know. And Bellevue has a mission absolutely to take care of patients, every patient who comes through their doors, regardless of the ability to pay. So what does that mean? I would not commit to saying that there's been a plan for any reduction in services as a result of this. People are aware that this may be coming. But what this is actually going to mean in real time, Karen, I don't know if you want to jump in here. Right this moment.
Yes, there are, yes, Renee, I'm happy to. To answer your first question about the difference between bullet 1 and bullet 3, bullet 1 is a specific upper payment limit. What it actually does is for Medicaid services, the upper payment limit of Medicaid reimbursement matches Medicare. And Medicare is an entitlement program, so it reimburses providers at a better rate or a higher rate that more closely matches costs than Medicaid, which is a charity program. And so there are all sorts of sociological and political implications for that. So bullet 1 is just specifically, hey, for all the fee-for-service stuff, can we get the upper payment limit, make it permanent so that Medicare services can be reimbursed, Medicaid services can be reimbursed at the Medicare rate, which is a little higher. The third bullet is a more so that's a specific funding mechanism. The third bullet is actually just saying, yes, Medicaid only pays 70% of what it costs. It's very hard to know how, about cost. They differ across the country. But in New York City, they pay, it reimburses only 70% of the actual cost. Medicare, I don't believe will ever reach parity with Medicare. However, we're just looking for, how about a small increase? How about we just keep looking at a small increase so that it reimburses 72% of costs instead of only 70%. So number 1 is specific, and number 3 is increase the Medicaid reimbursement rate for safety net hospitals, because, and we're trying to look at it for safety net hospitals only because private hospitals that are not safety net, that is, they don't have more than 30 or 35% of their patients, on Medicaid or needing or uninsured, they can also say, hey, we have these Medicaid patients, and so we want to be reimbursed for these Medicaid patients. So if you increase the Medicaid reimbursement rate, we're looking for that to go to safety net hospitals specifically, not totally across the board. That will probably not happen, but we are trying to specify safety net as opposed to all private nonprofits. In addition, as chair, I attend a monthly meeting of all the 21 tabs for the, probably 30 plus institutions associated with health and hospitals. And there, in regard to the impact, they think it's, 950,000 is a significant number of people, but, they think about 25% of the people will be out of luck. The problem with patients or individuals not having insurance is that it ends up costing more because they come into the hospital and they're sicker. So Health and Hospitals' position has been stated to all the chairs that they will do whatever they can. They are not going to cut back on services yet. They are waiting to see how bad it's going to be. They are also starting a separate initiative to ensure or to support people who lose Medicaid, they're developing financial assistance teams for folks who lose Medicaid, for folks who don't fill out the paperwork on time, for people who, become uninsured. And by this financial outreach team, of course, is a great strategy, because if they can get uninsured people some form of health insurance, similar to what Renee brought up in the beginning with Metro Health Plus and New York Care, at least there will be some reimbursement from an insurance plan for their services. So it's, frankly, they're just waiting to see how bad it's going to be. While they are waiting, they are refusing to cut services and sending out teams to help people with who need financial assistance or need help with paperwork. And it is known that to fill out health insurance paperwork or health insurance programs require a college education to understand. That's how convoluted and the language is. So it's not surprising that someone will look at a page of dense text and say, I can't deal with this. So Bellevue will also send to CB5 information about the financial assistance programs and the financial outreach in the event that you have any folks in your area who call in or check in and say, hey, they need help. Did I answer your question?
Just to add to that, people are not expected to lose their insurance because they're not eligible. It's not an eligibility thing. It's simply these barriers that they're being put in place, as Karen mentioned, needing someone to help you fill out the forms, needing to find all your, timesheets to submit every 6 months. That's the problem, rather than actually not being eligible for the coverage.
Thank you. Melissa, was that kind of cover your part? Okay, thank you. Any other members, questions in the room? No?
Yeah, I do, sorry.
No, thanks, go ahead, you're on.
Thanks, Renee, and this is absolutely essential and absolutely in favor of it. This is a slightly tangential question, so you can tell me if that's scope, but I'm very interested in the telehealth item. I think the figure you gave was 100,000 telehealth visits in the past year. As you mentioned, like access to good care, hospital care in our district is something we've talked a lot about. Strategically, from Bellevue's perspective, is this a program that they're looking to make more robust, expand? I mean, it seems like one of the ways to expand healthcare coverage without expanding beds is through telehealth. Can you talk a little about that? Obviously, we would need this law to be made permanent in order for that to happen, but is there a push into more telehealth?
Yes. And the reason is we had a visit from someone from the psych department, and they said that with telehealth services, their no-show rate for appointments went from something like, so please don't quote me, 80% to 22%. So what that meant was that, so the benefit is, number one, to the patient, because then they're checking in with their provider. And if that provider is a shrink, well, more power to them, because mental health is severely needed in New York City. The second thing that, as you alluded to, the second thing that telehealth does is increase productivity, because a physician can see somebody in a clinic and then then go back to his or her desk, make a phone call or a Zoom call, talk to somebody. When that's finished, hang up, go outside and take the next patient. So anecdotal evidence seems to say that Bellevue, that the hospital is more productive with telehealth. So it's a benefit for the patients because, childcare, accessoride, you've heard the complaints about accessoride, feeling too weak, for many reasons, people don't show up. and everyone who has a therapist talks on the phone. Number two, it's better for the hospital because they are more productive. We did ask for figures for 2024 to compare to 2025. And they said that there was a steady increase. They are loath to say, they are sensitive to the Mount Sinai Beth Israel question. What has happened to Bellevue with the closing of MSBI? Actually, their ER clinic has expanded, department has expanded, and wait times are shorter because they rejiggered the process. But there are so many that they actually said there were so many other factors that were happening last year: migrants, the new FD rules about where patients can and cannot go to hospitals, that they don't like to make comparisons. All they would like to say is every year they get busier.
That's great.
They did say that there was a 65% increase since the pandemic of the telehealth. Like, it's really, really expensive, particularly in service.
And the telehealth law started in 2020 with the pandemic. And then they said, well, let's make it temporary because we don't really know if this is going to last or does it work. And then they did it for 3 years. And then in 2023, they said, oh, okay, it looks like it's working. Let's try it again. And so Bellevue Health and Hospitals believes that telehealth has shown its value and that it's okay to make it permanent.
Thank you. And again, it's I think this is all a no-brainer, but it's something interesting for us to keep our eyes on too, as a way, I think that's all really interesting and good to hear.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. Thanks, John.
Yep.
Is there anybody else in the room?
No one else in the room.
Okay. Let me stop sharing my screen for a second so I can check our public. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, we do have anybody from the public that would like to ask a question or comment, please do so now. Okay, Charles, now go ahead. Unmute yourself and you can speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, hi. I just wanted to make a comment, which is as a blind person on Medicaid who lives in our district of CB5 and on SSI, it's really important, that this resolution is passed already. I think already sounds like committee members are for it. I just wanted to also add, just as informational, that the Center for Independence of the Living New York, which has offices in Manhattan and other boroughs, they sometimes have Medicaid specialists who can also help with paperwork and things like that. If anyone wanted to put that on the board website or something, just have it as an informational thing if anyone ever asks. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. Appreciate that.
Bellevue is going to, and the CAB is going to work on helping people get certified, stay certified, do all the things to make sure people don't fall off. I don't have timing for that, but Karen, we can share it once it's all up and running. Right?
Right.
Okay, that'd be great. We'd like to start putting a little bit more information on the community board website for the public to have access to as much information as they can in one place more than another.
And I think I heard February.
Okay.
Just to give you a sense of when that will come.
Okay.
All right.
Do a little something else. It's a little bit tangential, but you can walk into Bellevue, get your flu shot, get your COVID shots, get your, everything is right there. Just walk right in.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments from the committee before we go into business session, or any other comments from our speakers that would like to say before we go to business session? Okay, all right. Seeing no hands or hearing no voices, we'll move into business session.
I want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. You can stay, and you guys can stay on. Obviously,
oh, okay.
Renee, you know how it works. You can stay on. Now we're just gonna discuss and then discuss if we're gonna make a motion for a resolution or a letter of support or whatnot. So if you'd like to stay on, you can. And if not, you don't have to. Okay, thank you so much. This is so important, as Yaron said, and and something we've always supported from our community board, and just happy to do whatever we can for the public and to make these very necessary things accessible in knowledge-wise, education-wise, and actually medically. So thank you. Thank you again so much. Okay. All right. Anybody from the committee have? Yep.
Just a quick comment.
Okay, we're in business session now. So is it a comment for us as a committee?
For the whole committee and the people on the line. too.
Okay, go ahead.
To mention that I think Renee Kinsella looks great. It's good, better than she did when she was the chairman of this committee. So good job, Renee. Nice to see you.
Amazing. Thank you, Mike, for saying that. Anybody else? Anyone want to make a motion to do something?
Sorry, can I ask, what was being presented? Was that like a pre-written resolution? What was being presented while Renee was
Yeah, I
talking?
just they provided me just with just a draft of a resolution that we could go off of, in a sense of like having numbers and things like that. So we can add to that. It's not anything specific. I did send out, and I'll put up the letter of support that we sent out in January of this year. Maybe there's some more components we could put on that, but this was the major asks that we support as a district, that we offer our support to them.
Yeah, okay. I just wondering what it was. That it all makes sense.
I mean, we'll still write it the way we're going to write it, but this was a way. So let me just share that again. So then
This is similar to the one we gave to, that we drafted in conjunction with CB6.
Yeah, correct. Thank you. So yeah, this is what they gave for CB6 to look over too. So
so there's a previous page.
They all have, they have this.
Great.
I have a quick comment, which is I'm fully supportive of this. I'd love to like beef up some of the language around, like in particular the telehealth parity. I think there's additions we can make on, like, I think 23 states have passed this. There's like a lot of existing legislation around this at the federal level. It has already been passed. And I think there's ways that we can add on to this too, to make this like very specifically relevant to our group or to this district.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to.
What's that, Yaron? What'd you say?
I'll make a motion to do that.
Yeah.
To take this resolution with whatever Melissa's additions that she feels bulks it up. Like, that's fine.
Okay. Will you second it? Or does
Second.
anybody second it? I didn't hear if somebody said a second.
Yeah, I'll say second. Absolutely support. Reaffirming our support for these priorities. It's all super important. Like, see no reason why we wouldn't want to sign on to that. And if Melissa has additional language to add to it, I think even better.
Perfect. And not that I'm offering ourselves, but I think Melissa and I will probably be the ones that write this resolution if it passes, just so we can make sure we have as much details in it as we can. Okay, so we had a motion, we had a second. Let's take it to a vote, please. So Mohit's absent. Julie?
Yes.
Alice is absent. Mike Greeley?
Yes.
Tristan's absent. Lev is absent. Michael Kavak?
Yes.
Andrea?
Yes.
Yaron?
Yeah.
And Robert, I think you're still on. Your vote doesn't unfortunately count with quorum, but I know you're there. So if you want to say yay or nay and just have a voice, you can say something. He's still there? Okay, he can come back on. Okay, I'm a yes. Gabby's not there. Will?
No, Gabby's here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gabby. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay, and yes.
Okay, I apologize. So sorry. Okay, Will, you said yes?
Yes.
Okay. Annie is absent. David Shapiro absent. Melissa?
Yes.
Kevin Thompson is absent. And Yoden?
Yes.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. The resolution passes. We barely made quorum tonight, thankfully. Okay, all right. Thank you again, Karen and Renee. That was amazing, and hope that we can continue to work together and write a resolution that can help us do that. So, and any of the like links and information, things like that, that you think that could be beneficial that we could post within our committee portion of CB5's website, please do so. Just send it to the office, and I'll work with them to try to get some more information up. Okay, thank you guys. Oh, it made you do already. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're done with the action items for tonight. So the next, just a couple things. Let me just go to my papers. 1 second. I'm jealous I didn't get the macarons, Melissa. Okay, sorry. Let's see.
They're not macaroon.
Oh, they're not? I thought they were.
Macron.
Oh, macarons, macarons. Okay. All right. Duly noted. Okay. So third, I just want to just, of course, like always, go over our committee stuff. Our next meeting is not until January 28th. And we changed to our new day of the week, which is Wednesday, starting then. So we do have a little bit of time in between. So please, whichever of the 3 subgroups you're assigned to, we need to do just a little bit of follow-up. We have time, not, but I want everybody to try to please get as interactive as you can, because this is what this committee is for, is to find things that we can be helpful for in these 3 main topics that we have created. So in our next meeting, so economic recovery and affordable housing, upcoming, we have a street vendor project that's coming to speak. I think they're coming in January. I'll send that out before. That's really all I have on docket in the sense that would fall under that subtopic. Anybody on that committee that's present, is there anything else that you'd like to dive into over the next 2 months for us to, like I said, dive into? Anybody? No? Do you want me to say you? Everybody should know what committee they're on.
Who's on that?
What's that?
Oh, I'm just wondering who's on that committee.
Okay, let me pull that back up.
Anybody is on.
No. 6, everybody's assigned to one. I just have to look it up every time. So I don't have it memorized. Okay, Gabby, Kevin, Robert, Andrea, Mike, and Mohit. Anybody present have anything to add? Okay. All right. Well, Marisa helps me a lot as well, and now Melissa has to help me or wants to help. So we'll continue to try to find topics where we can support this subtopic of ours. So again, I think street vendors I believe are actually coming to the January 28th meeting, and hopefully I'll have their information to share before that meeting. Okay, so next is public safety. This is me sounding like.
No, forget it. Wasn't about that subtopic. Go ahead. Okay.
Oh, okay. So
Sorry.
next, those on public safety, I sound like a broken record of who can at least go to one of the meetings before this next January 28th meeting, because this will be on our agenda for that meeting. Will be precinct updates. And so anybody in the room on that?
Didn't Lev say he was going, or which one did Lev say he was going to?
Midtown South.
Midtown South. Yeah.
So which one are we talking? So we're talking about not that meeting. What are we talking about?
So no, all 3 of them. All 3 of them in the subgroup. Oh, what? I wanted to make sure that everybody again is at least one person is going to a meeting to be able to update some information for this public safety with the precincts at the next meeting. Mike Greeley's doing Midtown North, and I think Lev said, shoot, I have to go back to my notes. I think Lev said he was going to try to do the 13th precinct, but
Well,
So
the
you-
Midtown South, 13th is in person, and he didn't want
yeah,
to do in
13th
person.
isn't. Yeah, 13th is in person. I would go and just offer myself. I'm not there. So. And you don't have to be on this committee if somebody can go to it. The Midtown, the 13th precinct is
the date?
January 20th. January
Right, so
20th
we have-
is
we have
usually at
North
6
and
p.m. that
South
takes
covered.
place in person. That one I don't have anybody to say they'll go to.
When is the Midtown South monthly meeting? What day of the month? Midtown
It's
South.
Tuesdays. They're all Tuesdays. That's why we changed our meeting times, because the precincts
I-
all meet on Tuesdays.
I think Midtown South will be January 27th.
Right, and that's
Midtown
the one
South
we-
will be January 27th, one day before our next meeting. Midtown North is January 20th, and the 13th precinct is January 20th, and they're all take place on Tuesdays. Midtown
two of
South,
them-
Midtown North are in person, and the 13th precinct, I'm sorry, on virtually, and the 13th precinct is in person. Is there anybody on our entire committee that could be present for the 13th precinct's monthly meeting on January 20th at 6 p.m.? Okay, if anybody becomes available, can you please email me, text me, call me, something? That would be super fabulous.
Where's the precinct that in person? What's the address?
Okay, let me look that up because the shared
around
yeah, I know, the shared topic has all this information, so I just have to keep going back to it.
One
That
of the
is
challenges.
230 East 21st Street.
I think quite a few of us are on SLAP, which meets on the Tuesday, and so I think I would love to go to this because.
Landmark.
No, Slap moved, so Slap switched with,
Slap switch with us.
so
Me
it
and
is
Seth
on a
Baker.
Tuesday, there's Tuesday, I think of. Hold on,
Otherwise, I would go, but
Says it's on
got
Tuesday.
SLAP meetings on Tuesday.
so you don't have a landmark meeting on 20th. There's
The 27th.
the 27th you do, but not on the 20th, right?
It's
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought you were trying, okay, correct. Sorry,
Send an email, Tiffany, we can send an email out to folks.
Uh,
with the
I've-
date.
I've done that. Thanks, Melissa. I've done this a
Okay.
lot of times, so I'm just trying to,
You
I'm
know
trying to
what?
get this in
I'll-
person now.
I'll do the 20th. I
okay,
can do that.
great.
Wait, who's talking?
Will's
thank
gonna
you,
do.
Will. Oh,
the
okay.
13th precinct.
Thank
Lev
you,
is gonna
Will.
do the South.
6 p.m. on the 20th.
It doesn't
Yes.
take the time, they keep changing.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And
will.
Mike Greeley will do Midtown North.
Yep, Midtown North, and I believe Love is Midtown South, so I'll just confirm with him. And then just
Right.
again, quick updates, like nothing, we need to start getting information about our public safety so we know how we can help our public and our community. So fabulous. Okay, thank you. And I'll send out another email. Just Melissa, I just wanted to say I've done it so many times that this needed to be discussed and talked about and solidified now. Okay, so going on to, yep,
All right, is there info on that meeting you can send me?
yeah, I'll send
Or
you,
should I just look online?
you just, since it's not online, you just go in person. But there is, a general email that, I believe you still will email, just to let them know that you will be attending. So
I got
I'll
it.
send it out to you, Will. Yeah. I'll send it out to you.
All right.
Thank you so much for offering that. I appreciate that. Is there anything
Oh,
else within the public safety subtopic that they would like to address over these next couple months? Other than trying to get information so we can know what we would like to try to help with. Okay. All right. Homelessness and mental health. We're working on the shelter updates. Those assigned to shelters, we're trying to try to get some more information, and the few of you that
So-
are on specific committees, we're still trying to connect with Marisa to see if that can take place. Go ahead, you're on.
Just have you spoken to Marisa since that email exchange that we had
No.
where she was?
No,
Okay, so-
that was it. So she hasn't gotten back to me on that yet. So I was gonna follow up with that because I would like this will be our February 25th meeting, I think, February 25th
Right.
agenda.
Great.
So my hope is still that, again, I'll circle back with Marisa and hopefully we can get moving on that.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you for being a part of that. Okay, anything else within this subcommittee that you'd like to throw in the bucket? Okay, all right, great. Julie, was there anything that ever came from that public bathroom and
Yeah.
there that we
Land use
wanted
is
to
working.
follow up on, or?
I know land use is working on something. We're
Okay.
gonna approach DCC.
Okay. So something comes up with that where it comes over into onto our committee side too, just let me know. And then I just wanted to circle back on this. Back in October, there was a containerization project. And I don't think you're on, or Andrew, I think you guys had kind of been in the loop with that, but I don't think anybody was able to make that meeting. Is there any updates with that or any follow-up that you'd like to do?
No, I haven't focused on that. I'm trying to focus on the homeless shelter first, but.
That's perfect. I'm just cleaning up notes, just cleaning up house here. Okay. Okay, and then, so let me just go over that's it for that. I just want to go over the next couple meetings. January 28th, we're going to, of course, I'll send this out. I think I already sent it to you. We'll have a member of the LGBTQIA plus advisory committee to speak about the letter that I attached to our last. So it's about a survey that's coming up to help collect data for the community. I believe the street vendors will be coming to speak at that meeting, and then it'll be our precinct updates. And then following that, it will be Wednesday, February 25th, which will be our March meeting, and we will talk about, hopefully have follow-ups for the shelter updates and whatnot. And okay, that's really it. Okay, item 4, new business. Anyone? Oh. Anybody on the committee, and then I can open it back up. No, nobody on the committee has new business?
No.
Okay, Michael Kvek, you don't have anything?
Don't tempt him.
What?
My tour was yesterday.
It's yesterday, okay.
You're taking a much needed and deserved rest during the holidays.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. Before we end, we do just have somebody else from the public that would like to comment. So give me just a second to allow them to, and then we'll finish up right here. Okay, Charles Nye, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I was wondering if there's a way, with all the good work that the committee is doing with reaching out to these precincts, I was wondering if there's a way to find information about how the public can maybe get a map or information about where, when they have the movable bollards, where they place them, because sometimes it can be an issue for people who are mobility impaired. You know, sometimes they're on different blocks and things like that. Just to get an idea of how many there are around our district and how long they plan to keep them there. And also any contact details of the community officers, which are, I believe, different from the regular NYPD officers who deal with, you know, matters in the community, like issues with, you know, things that the regular NYPD don't normally more on a community-based level, if there's a way to get that information, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. So yeah, just to answer that, a few things. If anybody, public or committee members want more information, each of the precincts that are specifically in our district, on their homepage, they do have their very, very current updates. And then there's also contact information to get more specific information that they don't just publicly put on their website. So that is there, and it's pretty helpful. All right, anybody else? Okay, let's adjourn. Happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Can someone turn the off in there?
Keep on, Ruben.
Thank you.